Page 162, Gavotte in D major. Well, we know what key it's in. It's in D major because it's in the title. And a lot of times pieces, especially classical pieces, they will include the key signature or what key it's in the title. Remember, a gavotte is a happy French dance, just a light little dance. Okay. So I'll go through the process. Let's see what we're doing. They're talking about patterns and imitations and all that, where you play a pattern and then you play it again, you imitate it. Now, you'll notice these things in music. Other than that, I don't have a lot to say about it. I'll look it over. It's 2 pages long, treble and bass clef, 2 sharps in the key signature. We're still in the key of D major. Make sure you're doing the scale and go ahead and do the arpeggio, 1 octave, D major, and B minor. Also do those 2 because they have 2 sharps in the key signature and 4/4 time signature. And there's quarter notes and eighth notes and half notes. Okay, right hand first, check and make sure we got fingering and everything working. I like to connect everything with the fingers at first. And I like to have a fingering that allows me to do that. So we'll see what happens. Here, it's the 4th finger that puts the hand here. Remember the C sharp, if it's in the key signature, then it's part of the hand position. So it's 1 and 2 and 3. And we're going to do the same thing. It's a repetition. And then 1, just eighth notes. And then we do that again. Oh boy. Let's go over to measure 9. It's 1 and 2. It's another section because this is a slightly different melody. 1 and 2 and 3 and this fun. Okay, measure 13. This broken chord pattern. 1 and 2. I'm just rotating here. It's walking on the piano. Okay, right or left hand. Well, the left hand is down here. 1 and 2. Do it again. Okay. The half notes. 1, 2. No big deal, I hope. Let's go to measure 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's okay. A lot going on here, and we're kind of just staying in the same hand position. That's handy. We're here. So put them together, and when I first put the hands together, I might hesitate. That's okay. I'm just trying to figure out how the fingers are working here. It's here, and here, and here, and here. So I go through the whole thing and I put the hands together. And then I go back over it a few hundred times, slowly, and I get rid of the hesitations. Now I would recommend on a piece like this a little longer, and it's in sections. It's clearly in 2 sections, A and B. Section A is page 162, section B is 163. Because they're different melodies. You can tell they're different sections. You could have a double bar at the bottom of page 162, except the repeat sign would cover it up. And you don't need both, a repeat sign and a double bar. It's just one or the other. And the repeat sign just covers it up. It's like at the end, at the bottom of page 163. Normally you'd get the end of a piece symbol, a thin and thick bar line. Well, here, the repeat sign covers it up. So that's fine. But my point is, when you're practicing something longer like this, break it up into pieces. So just take page 162. Forget about page 163 now. Just 162. Can you get that okay slowly with no hesitations? That's what you're after. And of course you don't need to look at the keyboard because you're not moving around. Then when you have that, set it aside. Don't play it anymore for a while. Focus on page 163 and do the same thing. Get it where you can play the whole thing without hesitations. You don't always want to start at the beginning and keep going through. That's a very inefficient way of practicing. It really is. You waste a lot of time. You practice playing stuff you already know, and that's okay if you already know the piece. But when you're first learning a piece, you want to spend most of your time working on the parts you don't know, not the parts you do know. So don't always keep starting at the beginning and going through. Now when you get the pieces okay, then you put it back together and you go through it all. So I'm going to pretend I got rid of the hesitations, and then I think about the articulation. This is pretty connected. This is pretty, you can look up for the phrasing if you know where they are, and in this piece it sounds like it's about every 2 lines works out to be a phrase. 5. I'm going to lift up here. It's a new phrase. But I'm going to connect the left hand. There. I'm not going to break the eighth notes. No. Connect the left hand, lift up in the right. I lift up here, but not here. So you lift up for the phrasing. And that's the only articulation I see. Okay, then the dynamics. Well, this is almost like a duet, but I think really we're after the right hand here. Forte is loud. Remember, it's loud. Let the wrist collapse a little bit. Don't pound on it. It's just you're heavy. This can be in the background. It's a little lighter. And then I measure 5 or 4. You're coming down. This. Come down. You're sort of a moderately soft. Go down to soft. Here in the left hand, and so when the right hand continues, it's moderately soft. Basically, you're echoing what you did. But in measure 7, you got the swill hairpins, both of them. You're going to go up and back down. When you look in the middle of it, it's about those 2 notes in the middle of it. That's your target. That's where you're headed. And you go there and then come back off. So. So you're spending more time getting louder than you are getting softer here. That's okay. Measure 9, you're moderately loud, and then you echo that with a soft in the right hand. Back to loud. Sort of. Anyway, you get the dynamics. The speed, it's in half notes here. They're giving half notes. This is more allegro. But you want to feel it in 2, the natural accents. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. We're just speeding it up so we hear it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That's it. If I do it at 169, those are half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That's what this is saying. Well, good luck playing it that fast. I suggest maybe you slow this down a little bit and just feel it more in 4. 2, 3, 4, about there, that's fine. We don't have to really take it all the way up to speed here. My concern is that when you start speeding it up, you're going to start getting sloppy and making mistakes, and the eighth notes won't be even. And I would prefer that everything be controlled and even and sounding nice. So slow it down. Now they have repeat signs again. Each page is repeated, is how it works, because the repeat sign at the bottom of page 162 sends you back to the beginning, and then page 163 is surrounded by repeat signs. So it's twice as long as it looks. A little bit about this metronome marking and using metronomes, just briefly. If you wanted to turn that metronome marking into quarter notes, you have to double the numbers. So 69, if you doubled that, it'd be 138. So you'd have to put the metronome on 138, those for quarter notes. 1, 2, 3. And when you start getting fast like this, it's harder to follow the metronome. It's easier than if you adjust the metronome to a slower speed or whatever, so you can follow it more easily. So it's not always going to be beating notes according to the time signature. Here it's half notes. It's beating according to the natural accents. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, yup, bum, ba da 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 dum. It's easier to follow the metronome when it's something like that. The problem is then the eighth notes are going nuts. So keep it down, keep it slow. If you're going to use a metronome, you can put the metronome on quarter notes, because when you go too slow, it's hard to follow. You adjust the metronome as you need to, so it's a beating at some speed that you can follow. It may or may not be beating according to the beat. It could be something else. So here, start slow and put it on quarter notes. And then over time, you can gradually speed it up. And if you ever get to a point where You're going fast enough where now you can put the metronome on half notes. That's fine, but that's a personal thing. That could take time. It might be the second or third time you've been through the book. Just playing for fun, you can speed it up then. You see at the bottom of page 163, it says RIT second time, and second time's in parentheses. Because pieces normally, if they give you an RIT, it wouldn't have second time in there. It would be up to you to know that you don't slow down until the very end. And as far as I'm concerned, when it's a dance like this, you don't slow down at all, because then it messes up the dancers. You got to keep a steady beat. But if you're just playing it, you could slow down at the end the second time if you wanted to. Now, I told you that I thought that phrases were like every 2 lines. Well, in measure 9 and 10, when you have this statement echo, this, a lot of times you can take each of those as a separate phrase if you want to separate them. People will interpret it that way. It's different ways of interpreting the music. You experiment with it, try things out. What do you like? That's what you do. And your teacher can help you experiment and try things out, or your teacher will just tell you, do it this way. That's what my teachers did. Now, don't copy me on this, because I would play it differently if I played it again. I might do a different speed. I might do different with the dynamics slightly. I could experiment with things, the phrasing and whatnot. Once you can play this okay with no hesitations, let's play it together and check the notes and rhythms. I'm not going to do louds and softs. We're not performing it. We're just checking notes and rhythms. I will do the repeats. I'll give us 4 counts. Now, because we have 8th notes all over everywhere, I put the metronome on 8th notes. So it's beating 8th notes. 1 and 2, those are 8th notes. That's how fast we're going to go. But I'll give us 4 quarter note counts to come in. 1 and 2 and ready and go and. and 4 and repeat